Hello friends, bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Colo on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co-host is David, aka Premier Pulse on social media.
Hi everyone, on today's episode, Jen explains Astral Projection.
Welcome to the show, grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share, you'll never feel alone.
Alright, Astral Projection, huh?
Have you heard of this before?
I have. I've definitely heard of this concept, but for me, this is one of the ones that is a little too woohoo, hippie, cultural appropriation. Let's go on an ayahuasca trip to Peru with our daddy's money. This one to me is a little problematic. I'm hoping to learn some more, but usually I feel, at least in like popular culture or like what's on my social media feed, like it's kind of cringy. So
I remember one time one of our friends was talking about this, but they called it astrogliding, and astroglide is the name of a lube.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, you're astrogliding at night? Okay, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always excited to learn, but I will say I'm definitely going into this one with like a huge bias. There's a lot of things in this podcast where I think there's levels to it, right? We've done some where I'm like, okay, I could buy into them. This one is not one I could buy into. I like people who like say they practice this or are able to do this. Just another level that's like a little beyond me to even really engage in. But I'm excited to learn, definitely. Before we get into that, do we have any housekeeping or anything?
No, I'll just say that I always start going into this with an open mind. I'm like, I don't know much about it other than what my friends have told me and what I've seen on social media. So
But you did your research on this one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I really feel like my curiosity has helped me deep dive into like, where do things come from? I find that that's like one of the things I'm good at is seeing the historical context where I've never heard the
the origins.
Yeah, the historical context of this before. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's find out what astral projection is.
First of all, let's define what it is. It's the belief that you could leave your physical body and travel within the world. Some folks believe that you can also go to other locations, not just your house, and also go to other dimensions or the past or the future by leaving your body. So this happens when you are asleep at night, per everyone's common understanding of astral projection. It reminds me of, I think there was a SpongeBob episode, right?
I was about to say that, yes. So SpongeBob basically leaves his body and goes around Bikini Bottom just annoying the shit out of people. That's the one where Gary's like a scholar and he can talk. And then Patrick's having like just dumb dreams. But he essentially leaves his body, goes and bothers the whole town. And then I think it ends with them like knocking on his door, being like, leave me the fuck alone. Yeah.
That's a good example of astral projection through SpongeBob. Yeah. From my research, there is no standard practice or standard like understanding. Everyone explains it slightly differently, has slightly different instructions, slightly different experiences. So I think that's interesting. The belief is that it happens when you're asleep. Sometimes it can happen accidentally, or other times like it has to happen on purpose. So
almost like a spiritual sleepwalking, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. So beginner astral projectors may start by walking around their own house, or maybe just like by getting out of bed. Per the people that have done astral projection, they say that it's like a really scary feeling at first because it feels like another sensation, like you're learning to walk almost. So the first time, some folks don't make it like past their bedroom. So, but once they conquer that, apparently they can go anywhere, everywhere. Some of the steps that I've seen to do it, again, everyone has a different understanding, a different system.
Methodologies too.
But generally, the standard steps are you set an intention and you say, I'm trying to astral project tonight. Like, I want to do this. You relax your body, and you really have to relax it because apparently if you're like anxious, you won't really be able to. But you also can't be too relaxed where you just straight up fall asleep. It's similar to like when you're trying to lucid dream.
That's what I thought. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, because when we were discussing this topic, like that's the first thing I went to. And I was actually talking to a friend before we recorded this, and I told him, hey, like we're going to be doing astral projection. And he was like, what is that? I was like, I don't really know what it is, but it sounds like it's like lucid dreaming. And he said that when he was like younger, like a kid, he felt like he could do the lucid dreaming, which is basically like you can control what you dream of. But he says as he got older, like he couldn't really do it anymore. But he's like when he was younger, it was a little bit easier.
Interesting. Yeah. Some people claim to see otherworldly figures like angels, demons, spirits. Other people claim to see a silver cord tethered to their body and their soul. So no matter where they go, there's a silver cord, and if they follow it, it leads them back to their physical body. There's a lot of people that emphasize like, do not let the silver cord be cut, because basically like you won't be able to return
it's
to your
like
body.
Tether, essentially.
Yeah, like in space, right? Like if you lose your tether, you're kind of fucked.
You're fucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Avengers has something similar with the Hulk, because it's like Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and his body is like, it's like 2 in 1. And in like one of the Avenger movies, I think it's like one of the last ones, essentially this other character from the movie like is able to project, like hit him with like a spiritual thing, and then his like body comes out, and you can kind of see like his body observing like the Hulk, and he's like 2 in 1. So that's a good visual representation of like, I think, what astral projection would look like.
That's fascinating. Yeah, some people accidentally astral project, like they're sleeping and then they see their body and they freak out. Other people like have to intentionally do it. A lot of times when people like astral project is near-death experiences. A lot of people say like, I could see the doctors working on me, or like I saw my body there. And then that when the doctors like saved them or resuscitated them, that they went back into their body. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to astral project.
And there's that like cliche, right? When let's say you're in an accident and holding on for dear life, and you astral project, at least in movies, the cliche is like, well, does that person choose to go back into their physical body, or choose to like move on to I guess the great beyond? And then like usually it's like one or the other, but they end up going back into their body, and that's when the shot of them like coming back to life happens, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess I don't know if it's similar, but I have seen or heard just colloquially of the like when they're under the operating table, right, where they can see like the surgeons working on them, and they can see, I guess, on a different plane, like they're looking at their physical body. I don't necessarily buy astral projection. But when you are under like general anesthesia, it's not that your body doesn't feel the pain. Like I think your body still has like the natural physiological reactions. It's just the cocktail of medications it puts you under, right? There's like something to numb your muscles so you don't spasm. There's something to like put you out. But essentially like your body still is reacting to pain. Like those pain receptors are still like having the stimuli. So I do wonder if people who claim to astral project is like maybe their body and their like mind isn't as disconnected, and they're able to like get impulses or get, just reactionary physiological stuff to like the pain that's happening.
Yeah, I had surgery for the first time ever earlier this year.
Did you astral project?
I know, right? I thought I was gonna basically like dream. It just feels like a light switch, like you're in and out.
It's different. Yeah, surgery sleep is different than regular sleep. Like one moment you're falling asleep, and the next moment you're waking up, and like it feels like time froze, and then you like time traveled, right? My
surgeon knew I was scared, and he said a joke, and as I was laughing, I was like, ha, I'm like inhaling. They gasped me up, and I was out like that. Yeah, it was really fast. I didn't have to do the 10-9. It was just, I remember laughing, the mask going on my face. face, and then I was out. And then I woke up like what felt like 3 seconds later. I think my surgery was only actually in real time 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was really quick. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
Yeah.
It was a robotic surgery. Really fun.
Laparoscopic.
Yeah. So if some folks want to astral project, but they can't, they could get some assistance with some tools, according to some people online. If you fall asleep listening to music, there are astral projection playlists and songs that are supposed to be like at a certain frequency that's supposed to help you. Some people suggest drinking specific teas, like basically all the teas that help with like lucid dreaming, like I think Blue Lotus is one of them, are supposed to help with that. And also the army sleeping or the military sleeping hack, where you tense your muscles and then you relax them either from head to toe or toe to head, whichever way you want. That's also supposed to help. And folks say that you're supposed to sleep in a position that's uninterrupted. So if you sleep with a partner, you're supposed to tell them like not to touch you or make sure that you're not going to bump into each other.
But do you sleep with multiple partners?
Well,
harder.
I don't know. If you have a California king bed, maybe. And then, yeah, you're not supposed to get interrupted. There was one other thing. Oh, most people suggest doing this on your back, which is interesting because when people sleep on their back is also when they get sleep paralysis, which is very similar of like seeing demons and stuff in your room.
Well, a lot of this shit is just good for having sleep and getting sleep, right? The same person I was talking to about astral projection, they also mentioned that like they used to be able to lucid dream and now they have like insomnia and it's really hard for them to fall asleep.
Really interesting.
Yeah. I also find that like, I guess it's a two-part question. One is it worth it, right? Like sleep is very important, and I think to experiment like once or twice, it's like whatever. But if this is a practice like somebody would want to do, I think fucking with your sleep, I don't know if that's necessarily like worth the experience, because sleep is very important to us, and if we don't get sleep, then I think there's worse consequences. So that's like my first part, and then my second is like why, right? Like why do it? Like what do you think about that?
Some folks want to astral project so that way they can like heighten their intuition if they believe they could see other like types of
They're nosy.
spirits. Yeah. Some people do it to be nosy. Some people have said that they astral project to go to like their ex's house or like be nosy. Some people want to go to the past or the future. They want to communicate with the otherworldly beings.
Humans
like,
are messy.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so you mentioned something, and I don't know if maybe I just missed it more towards the beginning, but from what you've been explaining so far, astral projection is just like in your sleep, you wake up, you're in another like plane or dimension, but it's still an observation of the physical world. I guess I didn't completely understand. You're able to like go into other dimensions and other worlds, talk to the dead, and then go back in time. Like explain that part.
Some people say you can quantum leap through different dimensions. Other people say you could just run around your house and have fun at night. Like different people have different definitions. But yeah, apparently you're supposed to be able to travel at minimum, like literally walking, like if you wanted to go for a walk at night and not be interrupted and it's just your soul and you're like, I wonder what walking around my neighborhood at 3 a.m. is like. Or if you wanted to go be nosy and snoop on someone, or if you wanted to try to connect with like an angel or a demon or something. There's no standard definition for what is on the other side, but apparently though that's the range of experiences that you can have per the people that have accounted claimed to astral project.
So, and it's bare bones, it's going into a state of unconsciousness and being able to leave your physical body and tend to another either dimension or world or plane, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I am trying to maintain neutral in my tone, but I guess I'll just say my position now. I'm not a full believer in astral projection, maybe because I can't imagine not sleeping. Like I'm so tired, like just let me sleep.
The last thing you want is like going on an adventure.
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe that's why. Like I don't think I'm capable of astral projecting, but also it just seems like there's no standard definition. Like, there are so many variables and experiences. And then also, we'll talk about this later, but its origins also make me skeptical. But finally, I always say mundane before magical. I've had vivid dreams where I'm like, I swear I felt XYZ. XYZ felt so real. I have like felt like I've seen myself before, or like I've seen you or other people I know, and it feels like so real. So what's the difference between that and astral projection, you know?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, but for me it's a little more what you're trying to say. The way I would put it, this practice definitely seems to go more off vibes. Like it's the vibe of it, and there's no like unified theory of astral projection. The fact that like you can't get to it with one methodology or like a limited source of methodologies does make me a lot more skeptical. And then just, I guess, the biology of like understanding how sleep works. Like you said, there are dreams that are very vivid. We go through different sleep cycles, and it's really, I think, easy to intertwine, especially people who do like believe in like the supernatural and believe that they can like connect to different planes and, you know, talk to angels or, like you said, demons or gods. I think that would serve more nuance for those types of people to buy into the fact that like I just had a really vivid dream and count that as like astral projection.
It's not hard, and I'll use my surgery as an example. It's not hard to imagine me getting operated on with a laparoscopic robot. I met my surgeons before I went in. I knew what I looked like when I was going to be wheeled into the operating table. I've seen a bunch of like medical shows. It's not hard to imagine me getting worked on. So if I did have like a vision or a dream of me on the operating table, like how much did I really see and how much did I put together from media and my own imagination? Some people that claim like that they saw their body was after like a car crash, and they're like, how could I have known who my surgeon was? And I feel like once you see your surgeon, it's really easy for your mind to fill in the blanks and be like,
connect the dots.
I saw the back of their head or whatever.
Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense. I wonder, like, I don't know if we're going to go into this, but like if there's been documented cases where that situation has happened, right? Somebody's like in an accident. Also, people who are like in a comatose state, they may not be able to respond, but from my understanding, there are some people who are able to hear and understand everything that's going on. They just don't have the like physiological capacity to communicate, right? And even maybe their brain waves are not recording like movements or life, but they're still like understanding.
I met someone that was in a coma, and they said that they could hear what was going on. Not all the time, but there were times when they were more alert than others, but they just couldn't respond.
And that's the thing, right? We, as humans, we have multiple senses, and senses are basically like the inputs that our body's mechanics have to understand the physical world around us. So when you're out or whatever, like you can't see, sure, like that's one of the more important senses to be able to have a composition of like what happened, but other senses might still be intact, right? You could, you know, be hearing what's going on when you're in an accident, or be like smelling, feeling, touching. So like all those other senses can maybe help form that picture that your sight cannot, right? Yeah. I did want to go back a little bit to the sleep cycle. There's like 4 stages to the sleep cycle. There's like the N1, it's like the lightest sleep. I think that's like as you're dozing off, you're still probably in like consciousness, that like weird area of like one moment you're in bed and you're kind of dozing off, but you're still pretty much awake. Then you go into what's called like N2, which is like the lighter sleep. I think that's the one where you are sleeping, but if you hear something open or like you hear your dog barking, like that can like pick you up a little bit quicker. They can wake you up. Then there's the N3, and that's like the deep sleep. That's the one where, if I understand correctly, when you fall asleep, your body does actually go into a sense of like, not full paralysis, but it gets calmed down to where you're not like reacting to outer stimuli. And then there's your REM sleep, which is the last cycle. And that's where you can quote unquote vivid dream. That's REM stands for rapid eye movement. So it's like when your brain is actually processing data. The best we understand of what like sleep is, it's like a reset for your body. That's when it's like when you turn off a computer and it like has to recycle and put everything in order. That's as best as we understand what sleep is for. So that REM sleep is like when things are getting organized and stuff. So I think that's when we have the capacity to possibly have like the vivid dreaming, or we have those like really, really deep dreams. And I think we go through that cycle a few times a night. Like, so it happens multiple times. So I'm not surprised, like everything else, right? Nothing is perfect. So if something gets, mixed up, or in that like transitional phase from like your N2 sleep to your N3 sleep, I think a lot of things can happen that can lead you to believe that you experience something in real life.
Which cycle is the one where you get twitchy, like where your body twitches?
Well, that's probably REM, because it stands for rapid eye movement. So you can't see it because your eyelids are closed, but your eyes are like darting around essentially.
It's so fascinating to see Lucy go through it, because I think just dogs in general, maybe they're more expressive, but like I do see her eyes like underneath her eyelids twitch.
Yeah.
And then her body twitches. And then sometimes she makes little woofing noises. She's like, woof, woof, woof. So it's so cute.
No, she definitely goes through it. I guess another part I wanted to ask you, I mean, for me, it's pretty simple, but for you, my understanding is you don't buy into it as much because, again, it's not as repeatable. There's a lot of methodologies. For you, that's not something that you think you could engage in. But I am kind of curious. Do you believe in the other plane part of it? Like, there is another plane of existence outside of, like, the physical world that is, like, closely linked? I know you've talked about the veil, but do you accept that part of astral projection? Like when you astral project, obviously you're leaving the physical world. Do you believe in that like other non-physical part?
I think so. I believe that some dreams have meaning and some are just dreams, and it's up to you to sort of like decode which ones are your maybe subconscious or your higher self in the other plane. Yeah, I think my philosophy with the afterlife and stuff is still being developed. I think it's more than just like basic atheism for me. I do think that there is, at the very minimum, like a better version of you that you're connected to where it's like you just have to manifest your best self on this plane, but your best self is on another plane. So I feel like sometimes you do get wisdom or downloads through your dreams, and sometimes dreams are just dreams. I like to use tarot, oracles, any like divination things to sort of clarify, like, was this just a weird basic dream, or did this dream have meaning?
And I guess you kind of answered my next question, but if you stand on the fact that there probably is another plane, another dimension, kind of another, let's say, afterlife or another world, how, if not through astral projection, how do you think we as humans, A, could access it, or B, do you think we can access it? Do we have tools to access it?
I think we have tools to access it. I think that if you really sharpen your intuition and your ability to receive messages through things like meditation, working on yourself, working on your trauma, so that way like your mind is clear and things like that, I think you could get a lot of meaning through synchronicities, whether they're coincidences or not. I think at the very least, even if I'm wrong, and I'm not claiming to say like I know everything or I'm right, just like everybody, I think we're taking a chance on what's on the other side. But at the very minimum, I think that our brain is powerful and we can unlock the best version of ourselves. But I like to have hope that the best version of ourselves is on another plane that we're connected to, if that makes sense.
It does. It does sound to me like you're more of the idea of like we can consciously reach that plane as opposed to subconsciously. Like we would have to put in the work to get there, right?
I think that sometimes people can accidentally get to it subconsciously.
You're just like walking along and accidentally trip into the...
I think so. Yeah. I think sometimes that can happen. But for people to access it more often, I think they need to like really lock in.
Okay, and that goes back. I remember that episode we did where we talked about everybody's different like natural abilities, like
the clairs.
The clairs. Do you think like those clairs are keys into unlocking like that astral plane?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that different than the veils? Because I know we've talked about like when we did our Halloween episode, you know, one of the beliefs is like the veil is less or the portal between like our world to another world is easier to access. Is that like a different concept to you?
The veil is just, I think, another way to say like an invisible border or like an invisible portal that sort of like, for a lack of a better word, opens or closes, or like it separates or it gets closer together to this dimension.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to learn about the origins of astral projection, and I'm sure you're going to tell me all about it after this ad break.
Today's episode is brought to you by us, Kythera Collective. If you've been vibing with the energy of the show, then you're going to love the Kythera Club over on Patreon. It's a space that I built for the cosmic, the curious, and the slightly chaotic. You know who you are. With 3 delicious tiers to choose from, we start with the chocolate level at $4 a month, which gains you access to weekly horoscopes and the exclusive Unhinged podcast, where I say things that don't make it to this main feed. It's sweet, it's spicy, and it's just for you. Next, we have the cafe level at $7 a month. This is where things really start to get cooking. You'll receive access to exclusive workshops, monthly virtual hangouts, and a private Discord community where you can chat directly with me and receive exclusive behind the scenes updates. It's magical, cozy, and a little unhinged in the best way. Finally, we have the tequila level. This is the VIP lounge. At $25 a month, you'll receive everything from the previous tiers, plus a personal 15-minute one-on-one session with myself or David each month, and discounts if you want to extend the session. It's a whole vibe and a powerful way to receive personalized guidance. So if you've been laughing along with us, crying or rage screaming in agreement, come hang out with us at the Kythera Club. Head over to patreon.com/JenCalo and choose your tier. If you want to sponsor an episode and advertise with us, go to our website, www.jencalo.com. All right, now back to the show. Welcome back. So the fact that people have different experiences or see different things, that's not what fully made me skeptical of this practice. Once I got into the origins, that's what made me a little more skeptical of this practice.
Like, oh, yeah. Origins really do lend us to a better understanding of all the things we're talking about, huh?
Yeah, for me, it's sort of like getting to the root of, or the origin of the matter. Like, if the origin is iffy, then me personally, like, I'm not a fan of it, you know?
Yeah, I guess before we super get into this, you touched on it a little bit, but just out of curiosity, you've met people who like are full believers in this practice and say that like either they've done it, know how to do it, or know somebody who's done it?
Yes.
And what is their like claim to it, or what do they express? Well, okay, are they saying they do it?
Yeah, but I don't talk to these people anymore, but I met them like, oh my God, I want to say 7 years ago, but yeah.
That was a long time ago. Oh, I don't know if I've heard about this. Well, so what was the interaction? Like, how did you meet them and what was their claims?
Yeah, they were telling me about astral projection, and they were saying that like they couldn't do it fully. They could only like basically run around their bedroom, but that there are like playlists on Spotify and you really have to focus, and you have to be careful. It was a lot of like fear mongering of like you could get stuck, and I think that's part of the reason why I was like, I don't know.
Did they scare you, or were you like, yeah, sure?
I think the thought of getting locked out is freaky. I think of it as like if you're in space and you have to go outside and your tether gets separated, like it evoked like that feeling. So I was like, ooh, even it's sort of like if you imagine like if someone is telling you like, oh, imagine maggots on your skin, like, you know, that's not really gonna happen to you, but it's still kind of gross to think about. Like, it's the same type of emotion for me.
Is the idea though that like if you do get stuck on that plane, let's say you break that silver cord we were talking about, like you can never come back?
Yeah, you basically die.
So you die.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that lends more nuance to like why I think it's like BS. Like you're essentially killing yourself with your mind.
But then other people are like, it's all about intention. There's no way you could get stuck if it's not your time. So there's just a lot of inconsistency.
Okay.
And then again, I'm like, okay, well, let's go to the origins of the practice and then I'll decide. Because I was kind of torn because it's like, who am I to say that you didn't actually see, whoever or experience whatever? Yes, that's your job. But my job is more like, let's give it a chance. Let's have an open mind. And when I looked at the origins, it's like if the origins are not up to par for me, then I'm not really going to explore it any further.
Yeah, okay.
So let's talk about the origins now. So the origins of modern thought around astral projection as we know it in the Western world can be traced back to a woman called Helena Blavatsky, a Russian woman who created the religious movement known as Theosophy in the U.S. in the late 19th century.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Her philosophy pulls from older European philosophy, Hinduism, and Buddhism. And she claims that she learned how to astral project and that she got all of her wisdom from Tibetan Buddhist monks. And at its height of the movement in 1895, there were 102 American branches with nearly 6,000 members. So she did have like a decent following.
I think there's beauty in the fact, obviously I don't believe in like religion or paganism, but I've noticed, especially through the more episodes we do, a lot of like the pagan belief systems or a lot of like organized quote unquote modern non-Christian religions have emerged like semi-recently within modern times, right? At least within the 20th, 21st century. And I think that's a good pulse on maybe humans or society where we are having the opportunity or having more or like less fear of being persecuted for our beliefs. I know we talked about Strega, we've talked about Wicca, now we're learning about this religion. I think it's really cool, like on a cultural level, just the fact that people do have the ability and feel safe enough. Like I still think there's a lot of stigma and there's like probably a lot of like social persecution, but we're not in like the Crusades or like the witch burning days. So I think that's cool, right? I like for every like thing that I discredit, at least culturally, it does seem like we have a lot more religious freedom, which is always good. Right?
Yeah, this is my theory. It's not 100% backed, but it's sort of like if you look at two things happening at once, you may want to think about it. But a lot of independence from colonization started happening between like the mid 1700s to present day. Like the Haitian Revolution was from 1791 to 1804. Our revolution in independence was like 1776. Mexico's revolution, I don't know when that was, but like it all sort of started happening around that time. So the fact that in the 1800s, 1900s, there was more liberal thought, I'm like, I wonder if that's a product of breaking away from colonization. There's still like neo-colonization where the United States has more like soft power, like politically, like we won't give you money, if blah, blah, blah. But I'm talking about like hardcore colonization, like there is another government in your land, and there's still colonization today, but I'm talking about like a lot of the world broke away from specifically Britain, for example.
No, I think a combination of that, industrialization, and information, right? I think all those things really led to like almost like a renaissance of free expression. I mean, we have the ancient Renaissance where like, the Sumeric people or like the ancient Romans or the Greeks were lauded for their pursuit of knowledge. And we've gone through, rebirths and renaissance, but I feel like, yeah, since like the 1700s, kind of close to that industrial revolution age. We talked even about like Edgar Allan Poe, how it was such a weird contradiction of being able to value art even though it was like in a super difficult time. I think all that has fast-tracked our ability to have like a more, not even open mind, but the ability to connect with others who are like-minded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sociologists have looked at theosophy, I think is how you say it, because Helena claimed like this is not a religion, like people can be a part of this practice, but their religion can stem from different places. So there were like Christian theosophists, there were Buddhist theosophists, but when sociologists have analyzed it recently, they came to the determination that, quote, theosophy is fundamentally Western. That is to say, theosophy is not Eastern thought in the West, but Western thought with an Eastern flavor.
Got it. Okay, so this person took from a little bit of Eastern mythology, European mythology, and then had like a conglomerate of a new way of thinking and seeing things.
Yeah, at its root, it's pretty Western.
Yeah.
And she's trying to claim that it's not. So
she's claiming that it's not.
Yeah, she said like, oh, this is like, yeah, a little bit old European, but it's a lot of Hinduism and Buddhism, and I carried it over with me. And it's like, no, you had this original Western lens, and you just sprinkled a little bit of like Eastern foreign stuff on it. You know what I mean?
Did she go like the prophet route? Was she like, I'm the holder, the keeper, the prophet of these teachings?
That's one thing that she was not. She more put herself as like a guide, but I think when you have so much influence over people, it's very interesting. And something I want to talk about, a lot of people get their authority by saying like, I studied with the monks, I studied with the shamans, or with this tribe, so therefore like I have a validity from a foreign experience. A lot of folks fetishize and claim authority from, basically being on the opposite spectrum of the globe, or claiming to be. And that's something that I see as a big pattern, and it really is appropriation at the end of the day. So
Zia talked about this. I don't know if you remember, but when she was explaining her books, I guess there was one guy who stayed with like one person in Italy, and that person claimed to be like the know-all of the old ways, or the strega, and he's like, well, I stayed like a week with her, so I know everything. Right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah. A lot of people like to sort of claim like, ooh, I did this one thing. And just because we're Latinos, we know that like a lot of Americans will go to Mexico and be like, oh, our shaman Pedro, like he blessed us with this knowledge. And then we actually know Pedro on a personal level, and Pedro's like, I don't know, these gringos just want me to dance and say some things, and so I'm gonna do it. Right? So that's really what it is at the end of the day, is like a lot of folks realize like, oh, this is a way that we can make money off of our culture, so we're just gonna say you're initiated. So it's very problematic when you claim that you learned enough of a culture to where you could like speak on it, and it wasn't a culture that you grew up in,
But I don't blame the people, the natives. It's like, fuck it, get your bag,
I almost want to talk about our friends master's level project, but I think that's a little too gross for the podcast. But basically she did a deep dive where there was like a practice that was seen as like inherently foreign, and then it turned out that it was just like people trying to make tourist attractions. I don't think I'll talk about it here because it's a little disgusting. But anyway.
But going back, so we got definitely way off tangent on this one. I think very good points. But astral projection itself, usually you do buy into a lot of these practices and beliefs, but this is the reason why you don't, right? It's the origin based of like, this person gentrified
Yes.
different cultures,
Yes.
and said they had this like profound ability to do this practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also there have been some studies. I was like, I'm curious if someone has tried to study this. And there are actually a few studies on astral projection. So there was one study in India that followed a 15-year-old boy that claimed to be able to astral project. It turned out that he had various like dissociative disorders, including dissociative identity disorder. So yeah, one of many like psychiatric conditions, unfortunately. So that didn't pan out. And then there was another study in France where they studied out-of-body experiences, including astral projection. And it is the largest out-of-body experience experiment to date that I was able to find. They took 210 patients of the same age and gender, and they matched it with controls. So 210 people that get dizzy and have out-of-body experiences, and then 210 people that don't get dizzy easily. And what
to claim the out-of-body experiences, right? Okay.
So what they found was that patients with chronic dizziness, sorry, I think I should have started there. They were studying people that have chronic dizziness, like vertigo and stuff, and then controlled the same like gender and age ratio.
Same demographics, but not the dizziness,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah. So out-of-body experiences in patients with chronic dizziness is almost triple than in healthy participants. So they interviewed these 210 people with chronic dizziness. 14% of them said, I have out-of-body experiences. And then they interviewed the 210 that don't have chronic dizziness, and only 5% said that they have out-of-body experiences.
I guess, I don't know if you looked into this, but like, if it's self-reported, you can only take science so far on self-reports. Unfortunately, people lie, or there's what's called the like the test bias. I think that's also been proven, where if a person who's administering a test like wants a certain answer, they can influence the test subject like subconsciously to give them the answer that they want. I guess I'm curious, like if they went the whole 9 yards of, you know, putting people into like MRI machines or just brainwave machines while they were sleeping, or how we would even quantify the act of astral projection without, or how to quantify it other than just self-reporting.
I'm sure it's in there. I do not remember, but it's in the literature. They have to have all their methodology and stuff. But what they are assuming, because, you know, they looked at various factors like, okay, what do these people with dizziness have in common? One thing is vestibular imbalance, which is like the inner ear stuff. So if you don't know, the inner ear plays a part in you not feeling dizzy, sort of being able to be even keel. That's why like sometimes when you get ear infections, you feel dizzy. So a lot of people that had chronic dizziness had vestibular issues. So that was one thing. And then another thing is like obviously the psychiatric stuff. Like some people get dizzy because they're having anxiety attacks or because they're depressed. And some people have like neurological issues. So that's what they found.
Well, super interesting. I really hope anybody who's listening and like does astral project, reach out to us. We'd love to hear your story. You know, this is a stance that we have, but it's not like we're closed-minded to experiences. And I'd love to just hear like a first-hand experience. All of this is second, third-hand experience research. But if anybody has done astral projection or does the practice of astral projection, as long as it's respectful, we're more than glad to hear about it and like understand your point of view or your like practice, right?
Yeah, and again, I can say that I have a large bias because I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're just trying to get her sleep.
Yeah,
like, that's what's important.
Yeah, that's my bias.
Awesome. Well, super interesting. I've been I was really excited to do this one, just mostly because again, like this is one that I'm like, it's definitely not true. And from what I understood, as we talked about it even before you did the research, this was one where you had a little more hesitation. So those are really fun for me when we like both are very skeptical of this practice. It does sound like it has some like troublesome origins, which we've had episodes of that. But overall, like, yeah, really interesting. And this is one where I'd love to hear from somebody who has like firsthand experience. So definitely reach out if you have had firsthand experience. With that, we have some comments.
Yeah, so we have a comment from Jamie Lynn ESQ. She does aura readings, so go ahead and follow her. She said about the Miss Cleo episode, just listened. I am definitely in the Cleo generation. I love the whole episode. Also picked up on the commonality with other personas in your Spotlight series. And then David commented and asked, did you ever call in to the Psychic Readers Network? And she responded, I remember my sisters running up the bill to like hundreds of dollars. They were calling without me knowing when they came to stay with me. My ex paid it, and I don't feel sorry for him. It's the least he could do. Also, my aunt was a medium, so we were on these vibes.
Yeah. No, yeah, super cool hearing the feedback. I guess her, both, and I thought it was more like the 80s, and we like, in the episode, I was like, well, that's crazy, because I thought it was like 80s, but no, it was like late 90s, early 2000s. It goes to show that, like, the perception of time is so warped, and even multiple social lived experiences can still get overlapped and like the wires crossed, right?
Yeah.
That was a really fun episode. I really enjoyed Miss Cleo, and I'm excited to do some other spotlights coming up. We have some in the works, and I think those are going to be pretty fun. So Jamie, thank you so much for commenting. We love your comments. Please keep them coming. Jamie also told me in person that she was very passionate about hearing our Star Talk episode, so that was really fun as well to get that feedback. But it looks like we do have some announcements and some things coming up.
Yes, I have a Glamour Magic class with Luna on the 27th of September. So if you want to learn how to make your own magic mirror, which is a portal to the most beautiful, confident version of you, or if you just want to get crafty and make a cute mirror, definitely check us out.
Speaking of like going to other planes, right?
Yeah. So the link is in Luna's bio as well as my bio. So buy your tickets. It's cheaper if you buy two. So you get a discount if you buy 2 tickets. So that way it could be you and a friend.
Bring a friend. Awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, if somebody wants to get a hold of you and learn how to astral project, how can they do it?
Don't learn how to astral project from me, but if you want to get in touch for anything, maybe an astrology reading, maybe a tarot reading, things that I actually know about, reach out Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky at Jen Kahlo and JenKahlo.com. And remember, if you like the show, rate it and give us 5 stars from wherever you're listening.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode.
Remember, the magic within you makes the world a more beautiful place. Blessed be, and signing off. Bye.